In 1982, a gravedigger walked into a quiet cemetery in New Jersey. He was just doing his job, just another morning. But then he saw something near the edge of the woods. At first, he thought it was a pile of old clothes. But when he got closer, his stomach dropped. It was a body, a young girl. Her face had been destroyed, beaten so badly that no one could tell who she was. No ID, no wallet, no name. She was wearing a red shirt and a skirt with peacock print, but nobody recognized her. For 40 years, nobody knew her name. Nobody knew where she came from, and nobody knew who did this to her. She was buried under a headstone that read, Princess Doe, missing from home, dead among strangers, remembered by all. But here is what makes this case unlike anything you have ever heard. The man who allegedly took her life actually confessed from behind bars. He wrote a letter. He said he did it, and still nothing happened for years. Let that satisfactory sink in. This is the story of a girl the world forgot, a killer who almost got away with it, and a 40-year hunt for the truth that will leave you speechless. Before we go any further, if cases like this keep you up at night the way they keep me up, hit that subscribe button right now. We cover stories that no one else is talking about, and trust me, you do not want to miss what is coming next. Now, let me take you back to where it all began. Dawn Rita Olanick was born on August 5, 1964, in Manhattan, New York. She grew up in a modest household in Bohemia, a quiet neighborhood on Long Island. Her parents divorced when she was young, and after that, she lived with her mother and her sister. She also had an older brother, Robert. From what those who knew her have said, Dawn was the kind of person who lit up a room. She was bright, she was spirited, she had a kind heart. She was the girl who made people smile without even trying. She was not famous, she was not wealthy, but to the people who loved her, she meant the world. Dawn was a student at Connequot High School. She had just finished her junior year. She was 17. Her whole life was ahead of her. But in the summer of 1982, something happened that would change everything. According to her brother Robert, Dawn left their family home on June 24, 1982. Now, here is where things get complicated. Some sources say Dawn left on her own. Other sources say her mother asked her to leave. The truth is, nobody knows for sure what happened that day. What we do know is that Dawn walked out the door, and she never came back. At first, her family probably expected her to return in a few days. Days turned into weeks. Weeks turned into silence. And somewhere in that silence, Dawn Olanick vanished from the world. But where did she go? What happened to her in those missing weeks between leaving home and the day her body was found? These are questions that haunted investigators for 4 decades. And the answers, when they finally came, were more horrifying than anyone could have imagined. Now here is where the story takes a dark and terrifying turn. Somewhere between leaving her home in Bohemia and her final moments, Dawn crossed paths with a man named Arthur Kinlaw. Kinlaw was not a stranger to crime. He was a convicted criminal, a man who ran a network that exploited young women. He operated across multiple towns on Long Island, including Bay Shore, Brentwood, Islip, Amityville, Bohemia, and Bellport. His method was simple and disturbing. He would approach vulnerable young women, teenagers, runaways, girls with nowhere to go, and he would try to recruit them. Dawn, freshly out of her family home with no safety net and no direction, was exactly the kind of person Kinlaw preyed on. Authorities believe that after leaving home, Dawn was staying somewhere in the West Babylon area. That is where Kinlaw likely found her. He brought her back to his home in central Islip. And according to witness testimony that would surface years later, what happened next was a nightmare. But before I tell you what Kinlaw did, I need you to understand something. The details of what I'm about to share come from multiple sources, including his own wife. And what she described is one of the most chilling accounts I have ever come across. Kinlaw brought Dawn home. He tried to recruit her into his operation. According to his wife Donna, Kinlaw evaluated Dawn and decided she was, in his words, inexperienced, not worth keeping. So he tried to sell her to other people in the same line of criminal activity. Nobody wanted her. And when Kinlaw realized he could not profit from Dawn, he made a decision that no human being should ever make. He decided that if she would not cooperate, she would not survive. Dawn refused his demands. She stood her ground. A 17-year-old girl, alone in the world, looked a dangerous criminal in the eye and said no. And that refusal cost her everything. Now let me take you to July 15, 1982, a Thursday morning, around 8 o'clock. The sun was already hot. The humidity in Blairstown, New Jersey was thick. Cedar Ridge Cemetery sat quietly on State Highway 94, surrounded by trees and sloping hills. It was the kind of place where nothing ever happened. George Casey was a gravedigger. That morning, he made his way to the rear section of the cemetery near a steep bank that dropped down toward a small creek. At first, all he could see were feet, a pair of feet sticking out from behind the slope. He moved closer, and what he found would haunt him for the rest of his life. A young girl, lying on her back, partially clothed. Her face had been destroyed, beaten with such violence that not a single feature could be recognized. Her eyes, her nose, her mouth, all gone, replaced by something no one should ever have to see. The red shirt she wore was stained. The skirt with the peacock print at the bottom was not even on her properly. It was just draped over her legs, as if someone had tossed it there as an afterthought. She had no shoes, no socks, no undergarments. A small golden cross necklace was tangled in her hair. 2 earrings hung from her left ear. Red nail polish was visible on her right hand. Only her right hand. Her left hand was bare. And on both hands and arms, there were wounds, defensive wounds. This girl had fought back. She had tried to protect herself. She had raised her hands against whatever was coming at her, but it was not enough. George Casey called the police immediately. When officers arrived, they were faced with a scene that offered almost nothing to work with. No identification, no purse, no wallet, no fingerprints that could be matched. The decomposition had already begun, accelerated by the brutal summer heat. The medical examiner estimated she had been dead for a few days, possibly longer. Her blood had fermented from the heat, making it impossible to determine if there was any alcohol in her system. Toxicology found no drugs, but the results were inconclusive because of the time that had passed. There was no conclusive evidence of any kind of assault beyond the beating. The cause of death was ruled as blunt force trauma to the head and the back of the skull. Multiple fractures were found across her face and skull. The weapon was never officially identified, but later evidence would point to a baseball bat. Forensic anthropologists examined the remains and determined the victim was female, between 14 and 18 years old, approximately 5 feet 2 inches tall and around 110 pounds. She had never been pregnant. She had never given birth. Her appendix and tonsils were still intact. Her front 2 teeth were slightly darker than the rest. And that was it. That was all they had. A girl with no name, no face, and no one looking for her. Or so they thought. Now, what happened next is something that had never been done before in the history of American law enforcement. Lieutenant Eric Kranz of the Blairstown Police Department was the first officer to respond to the scene. He looked at this girl, this broken, nameless girl lying in a cemetery, and he made a decision. He was not going to let her be forgotten. He gave her a name, Princess Doe. He said later that he wanted to give her some dignity, some personality. She had no face, no identity, but she would have a name, and that name would go on to make history. Kranz pushed hard to get the case covered in the media. Newspapers ran the story. Television stations picked it up. Composite sketches of what the girl might have looked like were created and distributed across the country. Her clothing was photographed and published. And then, something unprecedented happened. Princess Doe became the very first unidentified person to be entered into the National Crime Information Center database. FBI Director William Webster himself authorized the entry on June 30th, 1983. This was a landmark moment. It changed the way America handled cases of unidentified victims. And it all started with a girl found in a cemetery in a small New Jersey town. But despite all the media coverage, despite the sketches, despite the national attention, nobody came forward. Nobody called and said, "That is my daughter. That is my sister. That is my friend." The silence was deafening, and it lasted for years. Tips did come in, though, hundreds of them. And one of the earliest and most promising came from a woman named Anne Marie Latimer. After seeing photographs of the victim's clothing in a newspaper, Latimer contacted authorities and told them something remarkable. She said she had seen a girl wearing that exact outfit just 2 days before the body was found. It was July 13th, 1982. Latimer was shopping with her daughter at an Acme supermarket directly across the street from the cemetery. She remembered the girl clearly because the outfit was so distinctive. The girl was buying cigarettes. She had her hair up in a bun, and her expression was blank, stoic, like someone carrying the weight of the world. Another witness confirmed the sighting a few days later. But when police questioned the supermarket employees, none of them remembered seeing the girl. The lead went cold. Then another witness came forward. This one worked at a local motel. She told police that a young woman matching the description had checked into the motel a few days before the body was found. The girl had asked if there were any jobs available, maybe as a house cleaner or a receptionist. She told the motel worker that she was a runaway from Florida. She also said that her father was a dentist, but the motel worker could not remember the girl's name. Another lead, another dead end. And then came the theory that consumed the investigation for years. For a long time, investigators believed that Princess Doe might be Diane Janice Dye, a teenager who had vanished from San Jose, California in 1979. The theory gained so much traction that New Jersey law enforcement actually held a press conference naming Diane as the victim. But Lieutenant Kranz disagreed. He never believed Diane was Princess Doe, and Diane's family in California was furious at the New Jersey officials for making the announcement without solid evidence. In 2003, DNA testing finally put the theory to rest. Princess Doe was not Diane Dye. The investigation was back to square one. But here is the thing. While investigators were chasing dead ends across the country, the man who allegedly killed Princess Doe was already sitting in a prison cell, and his own wife was about to blow the case wide open. In 1999, a woman named Donna Kinlaw was arrested in California for welfare fraud. She had been using the name Eliana, which was traced back to a Long Island native. During questioning, Donna did not just talk about the fraud. She started talking about something far worse. She told investigators that her husband, Arthur Kinlaw, had committed multiple acts of extreme violence against women. She gave details about 2 women Arthur had harmed, women whose identities are still unknown to this day. And then Donna revealed something that sent shockwaves through the investigation. She said that in the summer of 1982, Arthur had brought home a teenage girl. She described how they had spent some time with this girl, how Arthur had tried to recruit her, how the girl had refused. And then one night, Arthur left the house with the girl and came back alone. He was shaken, nervous. He got rid of his clothes. He cleaned his car meticulously. And then he turned to Donna and said something that chilled her to the bone. He told her that if she did not go to work, if she said anything, he would do to her what he had done to that girl. But the story gets even more disturbing. In a separate interview with Newsday, Donna recalled that about 2 weeks after that night, she was reading the newspaper aloud to Arthur. The article was about a body found in a New Jersey cemetery, a girl they were calling Princess Doe. As Donna read, Arthur became frantic. He kept asking, "What does it say? What does it say? Does it say who the person was?" He was panicking, and Donna knew exactly why. Donna told investigators that she had been with Arthur at Cedar Ridge Cemetery. She said she witnessed what happened that night. She saw Arthur end Dawn's life right there among the gravestones. She also sat down with a forensic artist and helped create a sketch of the girl she claimed to have met. That sketch bore a striking resemblance to the most recent composite of Princess Doe. But here is where the case hit a wall that seemed impossible to break through. Lieutenant Stephen Spears of the Warren County Prosecutor's Office worked on the case extensively. He believed there was something to the Kinlaw connection. But without being able to confirm Princess Doe's identity, he could not place her in a location where Kinlaw would have been. He could not connect the dots. And there was another problem. Neither Arthur nor Donna could provide a name for the girl. They claimed to have spent time with her, but they did not know who she was. Spears found this suspicious. How do you spend time with someone and not know their name? The lack of corroboration meant that despite everything, despite the witness testimony, despite the confessions, Arthur Kinlaw was not charged with Princess Doe's case. And then, in 2005, something happened that should have changed everything. Arthur Kinlaw, sitting in his cell at the Sullivan Correctional Facility, wrote a letter to authorities. In that letter, he requested to be interviewed. He said he wanted to confess to the killing of Princess Doe. He was ready to talk. But for reasons that remain unclear, no action was taken. The letter was received, the confession was offered, and nothing happened. Let that sink in for a moment. A man behind bars for 2 separate acts of extreme violence against women offered to confess to a 40-year-old cold case, and the system did not follow through. It is one of the most frustrating aspects of this entire story. Meanwhile, the years kept passing, and Princess Doe remained a name on a headstone in a small New Jersey cemetery. But the people of Blairstown never forgot her. In January 1983, 6 months after her body was found, Princess Doe was buried. The community came together and raised funds to pay for her coffin and headstone. She was laid to rest in Cedar Ridge Cemetery, not far from where she had been found. The headstone they chose carried words that would become iconic. Princess Doe, missing from home, dead among strangers, remembered by all. Over the years, the people of Blairstown continued to honor her memory. On the 30th anniversary of her discovery in 2012, over 100 people gathered at the top of the ravine where her body had been found. State police displayed her clothing on a mannequin. Her composite sketches were shown to the public. Reporters and cameras documented the event. It was a community that refused to let go. That same year, the case was featured on America's Most Wanted and CNN, generating new tips and renewed interest. On October 12, 2014, Princess Doe was honored at a missing persons rally in the area. Fresh flowers appeared on her grave regularly. Cards were left by strangers. One card, found years later during a visit to the grave, simply read, "Miss you every day, cousin." The world had not forgotten Princess Doe, but the world still did not know her name. And now we arrive at the moment that changed everything. In November 2020, Princess Doe's body was exhumed for the second time. This time, investigators had something they did not have before, a grant that would fund cutting-edge DNA extraction. The remains were sent to Astria Forensics in California, a lab specializing in extracting DNA from degraded and damaged samples. In 2021, a molar root and an eyelash from Princess Doe were submitted to Astria. Carol Schweitzer, a forensic supervisor at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, explained why this lab was chosen. She said that what makes Astria special is their ability to extract DNA from samples that are degraded or otherwise would provide no value. If anyone could get the information that was needed, Astria could. And they did. Kelly Kincaid, the CEO of Astria Forensics, later revealed that the DNA was exceptionally well preserved. The single extract contained hundreds of millions of unique human DNA fragments. From that, they were able to reconstruct a complete genome profile. On February 10, 2022, Astria informed investigators that the creation of a DNA data file was successful. The results were sent to the consulting genealogists at Innovative Forensic Investigations, led by Jennifer Moore. Moore agreed to perform unlimited genealogy testing free of charge. Her team used genetic genealogy techniques, cross-referencing public DNA databases like 23andMe and Ancestry to build a family tree. On February 22, 2022, Innovative Forensics made an announcement that sent a wave of emotion through every investigator who had ever worked on this case. They had found a candidate for Princess Doe. Investigators traveled to West Babylon, New York. They knocked on a door, and standing on the other side was Robert Olanick Jr., Dawn's brother. He had not seen or heard from his sister since 1982. For 40 years, he had carried the weight of not knowing. When investigators told him why they were there, the emotions were overwhelming. They also collected a DNA sample from Dawn's sister. That sample was sent to mitotyping technology, which built a mitochondrial DNA profile. The Union County Prosecutor's Office Forensic Laboratory created an additional STR-DNA profile. Both profiles were sent to the University of North Texas Center for Human Identification. And on April 29, 2022, the confirmation came. Princess Doe was Dawn Rita Olanick, a 17-year-old girl from Bohemia, New York, a girl who had been missing for 40 years, a girl whose family had never stopped wondering. The formal announcement was made on July 15, 2022, exactly 40 years to the day after her body was discovered. At the press conference, Warren County Prosecutor James Pfeiffer said the words that everyone had been waiting decades to hear. He said that DNA technology and genetic genealogy had made the impossible possible. Without this technology, they would have never been able to identify her. Dawn's cousin attended the press conference. He stood before the cameras with a photograph of Dawn pinned to his chest and said, "This is a very big deal for my family. I would like to thank Blairstown for treating my cousin like she was one of their own. It touches our family deeply. My cousin is always in my heart. Blairstown gave it their all and never gave up. We are greatly appreciative of that." And with the identification came something else. Something the investigators have been waiting for since 1999. With Dawn's name now confirmed, the pieces finally fell into place. Investigators could now connect Arthur Kinlaw to Dawn Olanick. They could place her in the locations where Kinlaw operated. They could match the timeline. They could corroborate the witness statements. And they could act on the confession he had offered back in 2005. Arthur Kinlaw, now 68 years old, was officially charged with one count of homicide in connection with the death of Dawn Rita Olanick. The charge was based on the subsequent investigation, witness statements, and his own confession. Kinlaw remains imprisoned at the Sullivan Correctional Facility in Fallsburg, New York. He is already serving time for 2 first-degree murder convictions from the year 2000. Among his other victims was a teenager he knew only as Linda, who he admitted to strangling and beating in the Bronx in April 1984. Donna Kinlaw, who had provided the crucial testimony, was convicted of manslaughter charges and released in 2003. Prosecutors believe that after Dawn refused Kinlaw's demands, he drove her to New Jersey. Neither Dawn nor Kinlaw had any connection to Blairstown. It was a random destination. a place where no one would know them. They ended up at Cedar Ridge Cemetery, and there, in the darkness among the gravestones, Arthur Kinlaw ended Dawn Olanick's life. He struck her repeatedly, likely with a baseball bat, destroying her face and leaving her unrecognizable. He left her body on a slope near a creek, partially covered with her own clothing. Then he drove away, cleaned his car, burned his clothes, and went home. And for 40 years, he thought he had gotten away with it. But he did not. Because the people of Blairstown never stopped caring. The investigators never stopped digging. The scientists never stopped innovating. And the family never stopped hoping. Dawn Rita Olanick was 17 years old when her life was taken from her. She was a daughter, a sister, a cousin, a student, a girl with a kind heart and a bright future that was stolen from her in the most brutal way imaginable. She stood up to a dangerous man. She said no when he tried to exploit her. And for that act of courage, she paid the ultimate price. For 40 years, she lay in a cemetery under a name that was not her own. But she was never forgotten. The inscription on her headstone still reads, Princess Doe, and maybe it always will. Because that name became more than just a placeholder, it became a symbol of every unidentified victim waiting to be found, a symbol of every family searching for answers, and a symbol of what happens when a community refuses to give up on someone, even someone they never knew. Today, investigators are still working to piece together Dawn's movements in the weeks between leaving her home and her death. There are still unanswered questions. There are still gaps in the timeline. But one thing is no longer a mystery. We know her name. We know what happened to her. And the man accused of taking her life is finally facing the consequences. If this story stayed with you, if it made you think, if it made you feel something, then do me a favor. Hit subscribe. Turn on the notification bell. Because we tell stories like this every week. Stories of people who deserve to be remembered. And if you want more cases like this one, check the description below. There are links to other solved mysteries that will keep you thinking for days. Now, I want to hear from you. After everything you have just heard, what part of this case shocked you the most? Was it the fact that Kinlaw confessed from prison and nothing was done for years? Was it the 40-year wait for technology to catch up with the truth? Or was it the courage of a 17-year-old girl who said no to a dangerous man, even when it cost her everything? Drop your answer in the comments. I read every single one. And one more question. Do you think the headstone should be changed to show Dawn's real name, or should it stay as Princess Doe? Let me know what you think. I will see you in the next one. Stay safe out there.